Hi, Walter. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining us here. Maybe just to start off by telling us a bit about your story here. What inspired you to start this business here?
I always think that if you start a business, you have to be extremely passionate about the subject that that you're in. And I love cars. I love racing them. I love driving them. But I like cars also for a different reason than going from A to B. So I like to just take them out, not necessarily with having a destination in mind. And as we are making the transition to electric, what a lot of EV players are focused on is the simple utilitarian purpose of a vehicle. Whereas I really wanted to create a company that creates cars that I like to drive, which is why I founded EV Technology Group, which is focused on electrifying iconic brands and bringing that to market.
Great to hear. So let's talk a bit more about EV Technology Group here. The recent acquisition, the MOKE International. So that was announced recently, and what's the potential there? What do you think? Why you acquired this, and how are you going about the whole plan and bringing back this iconic brand back to life?
Well, if you look at our mission, electrifying iconic brands, like for me, there is almost no brand as iconic as the MOKE. It's been in 6 James Bond movies. It's made famous by Brigitte Bardot. And importantly, it's also a global brand. So the MOKE is available and has been around in Los Angeles, on the East Coast. It's in France, Greece, the United Kingdom, and it's made its way all the way to New Zealand and Australia. So for me, it's a very iconic brand. And after our initial investment in MOKE last year, we decided to basically negotiate a deal to acquire 100% of the brand to really accelerate the adoption of MOKE and a rollout of MOKE globally with our new direct to consumer and combined with the flagship retail store experiences.
So maybe we can talk a bit about overall sort of the general strategy of EVTG. So EVTG sort of acquiring this, we call it iconic brands of the places. What are the next step in terms of expanding the brand portfolio there?
Well, if you think about it, every EV or car company has to do 2 things that are very hard. Like the first thing is actually design, engineer, and then manufacture a vehicle, which is incredibly difficult to do. I mean, even companies such as Lucid, they've delivered around 400 cars. So it's very difficult to do. And then second of all, what they need to do, and it's often as time-consuming, costly to do, is build a brand. So what we're doing with our strategy is we are acquiring existing brand equity and then making those electric. So in terms of our next plans, like we'll be looking both for iconic brands that fit those criteria, as well as building out critical, manufacturing capability, which is where a lot of the sort of new entrants into the market as it relates to EV have really struggled to gain traction. So we believe in looking for attractive acquisitions in that space.
Great to hear. So let's talk a bit more about competition here. Right? Is EVTG the only company doing this, helping to electrify iconic brands? And is there any competitors out there? And how are you going to mitigate any major risks when you're moving this forward?
When you look at the market, there of course are other companies that have a similar type of approach and that they focus on icons, but those are often focused on retrofitting car, meaning taking an old chassis, like maybe it's a Porsche, or maybe it's a Bentley or a Land Rover, etc., and then retrofitting electric engines. What we are doing is we are creating a fully road legal homologated car that can be produced by us in volume. So we don't rely on maybe donor cars or cars that are in the market. And I think with that approach, it's a very differentiated strategy. It also creates long-lasting, strategic competitiveness from our point of view, because we own the intellectual property and of the platforms and of the brands that we basically are acquiring and relaunching as electric.
So when investors think about investing into companies, the most important part is one of them is the team, the management team. So let's talk about your executive team. Do they have any proven track records in the automotive industry? And can you share a bit about your own sort of technology background?
Yeah, as it comes to our strategy, when we rely on basically a combination of entrepreneur experience, automotive experience, but also luxury experience. So we have some real bench strength in that space. We have people such as Isabel Dundo, who's been 16 years at Rolls-Royce, BMW, who is the CEO of MOKE. And it's part of our team. We have, as my chief product officer, and last month joined us, Dan Birch, who is the former chief commercial officer at Lotus, very experienced in that space. In terms of just pure analytical bench strength, we have someone like David Maher, who is formerly an engagement manager at McKinsey, working in their private equity team. And on the luxury side, finally, we have people such as Willy Griel, who joined us from Cartier and Estée Lauder, really adding to the luxury and retail experience that we've had with some of our brands, starting with MOKE.
So quite a well-rounded team there you got. And so in the summary, why should investors consider investing into your company now? And what sort of milestone or catalyst that the company will have in the next 12 to 24 months, let's say?
Well, we're obviously a young company. We're just getting started, and it's kind of, you're at the sort of start of where this company is really going to go. We've been able to execute with MOKE from the get-go, doing a transaction, a major transaction 3 months after listing. And I think when you compare us, when you look at the core sort of competitive strengths of why investors should invest, is we have a high margin product, first of all. So we don't rely, like maybe Volkswagen or Tesla, that needs to sell millions of cars to make a model program succeed. We also focus on the luxury segment, which is less, hit by the economic sort of recession, perhaps, that we're coming to. Like luxury recession proofs, people will keep investing. And we also are, sticking to proven technologies. Like, we don't try to innovate in terms of battery tech, powertrain, etc. We take what is already there on the shelf and then use our brand equity to create high margin products, rather than doing it from a technology point of view, therefore reducing technology risk. So if you ask from me for 3 reasons, those would be my 1, 2, and 3. And added to that we just got started, I think it's a very exciting opportunity to step into the stock right now.
Thank you, Wouter, for sharing your story with us here today.
Thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to keeping you up to date.
Yeah, thank you for your time.